I don't know if you knew, but our target audience is kind of younger millennials.
Yeah.
And just this morning, Frank Lutz, the Republican pollster, said that the GOP has lost millennials. I'm wondering, what do you think that could mean for your campaign?
Well, I hope that it means that, and polling-wise, that I'm ahead of Trump when it comes to millennials. I do think that millennials care about the things that we all care about. And I think perhaps more than anything, millennials care about equal opportunity, something that government can actually achieve. And I base that on having been governor of New Mexico and seen legislation that really does benefit those that have money and are able to buy influence and buy advantage with that money.
So more generally, what do you think this election says about the future of the GOP? I saw your op-ed yesterday in Politico.
Well, I think it spells the end for the GOP. I really do. I think that Trump alienates more than half of Republicans, and I don't know how many of them come back. But I do think that this may be the end of the two-party system, and it's because they have each had to reach out to the extremes of their party to get their nominations, and I think the extremes of their party puts them out of touch with where most people are in this country.
So in one of those extremes, I think, has been immigration. So I'm wondering, on immigration, why do you think that Donald Trump's stances are not conservative? Or do you think they are conservative?
Well, I think that I've been in New Hampshire, I've been in Iowa in the 2012 cycle, and I estimate that 30% of Republican voters believe the scourge of the earth is Mexican immigration. It was my voice in 2012 that said, hey, this is not the case. Number one, here's the reason why they are undocumented, that it's impossible to get across the border even if the jobs exist, that they're not taking jobs that U.S. citizens want. Don't build a fence across the border, that's just nutty. They're not murderers and rapists. Statistically, they commit less crime than U.S. citizens. But there is maybe there's a certain logic to it that, gee, they're coming over here, they're taking U.S. So I can understand how you might hold that position, but those positions have no basis in fact whatsoever. So it's really, in my opinion, out of touch. I think we should be embracing immigration. We're a country of immigrants, and it's what makes us great.
And what do you think about Trump's proposal to get rid of all 11 million undocumented immigrants?
Well, let's see. How is that going to work in New Mexico, where the population is 48% Hispanic? So basically half the population. So is that going to be a federal force, a federal, let's get rid of the 11 million undocumented workers, and that's going to be a knock on my door, and oh gee, you're the former governor of New Mexico, so I guess you're not an undocumented worker. But then the next door they knock on is statistically going to be Hispanic. They're going to have to provide some papers, and that's going to be ugly, and that's not what this country is about. And there's a real misunderstanding regarding the 11 million undocumented workers. These are hardworking people that, for the most part, had to come over illegally because they couldn't get over legally, and the jobs were there. There were jobs there that U.S. citizens weren't taking. So just think of yourself in the same position, trying to provide for your family, for your loved ones, for yourself, and that you're denied that opportunity, even though the opportunity is there. And if you can get across the border, even illegally, to take advantage of it, that's what you did.
I'm wondering, a lot of conservatives we've been meeting at the RNC say that they love the Constitution. On constitutional issues, where do you think Donald Trump lines up?
Well, he is talking about making it easier to sue the media. So, gee, what is that when it comes to the First Amendment? And then due process. Killing the families of Muslim terrorists. I get the sense that due process will also go out the door. I get that sense. And then just unilaterally saying that he's going to disregard treaties and obligations that we have, I don't think that we should be setting that sort of precedent. You can certainly say that you're going to examine these treaties, that you're going to try and renegotiate these treaties, but to categorically say that you yourself are going to impose a 35% tariff, that's going outside the bounds of the Constitution, in my opinion.
So where do you think you line up more with the Constitution than he does?
Well, I hope that I'm not contrary to the Constitution in any area whatsoever. But I do see Donald Trump talking about the office of the president in ways that really disregard the constitutional authority granted the President of the United States.
So I think for people who are considering voting for you, there is kind of an argument that you're throwing away a vote. So why would you say that a vote for a third party isn't throwing away a vote?
Well, I think in this election cycle that a wasted vote would be for Trump or Clinton, that they've become so polarized, one side, the other side, but that if you examine this and you think that you want to waste your vote on one of the two, have at it. And that a wasted vote is voting for somebody you don't believe in. And really, I think the Libertarian Party right now is a big 6-lane highway right down the middle of Trump and Clinton, and I think the Libertarian Party right now is representative of most people's thought, which is keep government out of the bedroom, keep government out of my pocketbook. Let's stop dropping bombs. That it has had the unintended consequence of making the world less safe, not more safe. Crony capitalism is alive and well. Government can positively impact that. President of the United States can positively impact that to create more equal opportunity. Can the President of the United States create income equality? I don't think government can do that. I don't think government should be in the role of redistributing wealth. Government can be in the business, though, of making sure you have as much opportunity to wealth as the next person.
So there's been a lot of high-profile Republicans that aren't at this convention right now, and I'm wondering, there have been rumors that you've heard from at least one of them. So have you heard from any of the Republicans that aren't here right now?
Well, I'm reading about their comments, and they're really positive that they're considering voting for Johnson and Weld, and that's positive. I don't think you go from being an elected Republican to saying outright that you're going to vote for Johnson and Weld, but the first step you make is considering it. So very positive.
And what about Jeb Bush specifically?
Just very positive comments that he's going to have a look. Well, if he has a look and everybody else has a look, right now I think we're known by about 35% of the population, and the latest poll, CNN poll a couple of days ago at 13%, that bodes really well for more people knowing who we are and what actually might transpire in this election.
And then finally, I was wondering, so I've heard that you climbed Mount Everest with a broken leg. Could you just kind of tell us that story?
Well, I don't think it's possible to climb Mount Everest with a broken leg, but I did break my leg, full fracture of the tibia, a couple of months before I left for Nepal. So I left for Nepal with a healing broken leg. And on summit day, my healing broken leg was still 1 3/4 bigger in diameter than my other leg. I suffered frostbite as a result of the climb, and I'm convinced that it had to do with the lack of circulation in my healing broken leg. And I was not getting frostbite thinking, gee, I'm summiting Everest, but I'm getting frostbite. The frostbite was a complete surprise. I thought it was within the bounds of cold, but it went beyond the bounds of cold.
So do you think anything from that experience applies to running for president?
I think every footstep of that climb applies to running for president. That Life is about putting one foot in front of the other. Life is all about how we deal with setbacks. You know what? You can deal with setbacks by crawling up on the couch, curling up in a ball, declaring yourself a victim, giving up, or, hey, it's what happens, and get over it, get a smile on your face, and keep after it.
And is there anything else that we didn't talk about that's on your mind right now?
Well, I think there's the opportunity to get to 15% in the polls. After this interview, I have to think that maybe we'll be pushing 16 plus, so thank you very much.
All right. And then hopefully that'll get you to the debate stage, right?
Exactly.
That's the goal.
Yeah. No way that if you're running for president and you're not in the presidential debates, 100 million people watching the debates, there's no way that you could win. And we are in this potentially to win, believing that it is a possibility, but that possibility hinges on being in the presidential debates.